Hello, passengers, and welcome aboard the TV Pilot's License with service to the summer I turned pretty and Cape Cod, Massachusetts. We ask that you please fasten your headphones, secure your podcasting device, and remember that if you are in a middle seat and have a crush on the person in the window and on the aisle seat, don't worry, we have the solution just for you. Pull those armrests up and spread those legs as wide as you can and see who is interested in me, and should I go out with both of them?
Welcome to the TV Pilot's License. My name is Geoff Kerbis, joined by Max Singer. And Max, for those who aren't watching on YouTube, I think you may actually, in fact, turn pretty.
Yeah, this is just for the people who are watching along on YouTube. I'm wearing glasses, and I've just removed them to show you that I'm now pretty.
Well, Max, this week we are going to be talking about The Summer I Turned Pretty, which you can find on Prime Video. But before we do so, maybe folks are here to listen or get a recap of one of their old favorite shows, because it has been a year since this show concluded on Amazon Prime. Or maybe you're here as a frequent flyer. What is this podcast all about?
Are we Team Conrad or Team Jeremiah? Who knows? This is only going to be talking about the pilot today. Here at TV Pilot's License, we break down and analyze the pilot episodes of some of TV's most famous, or in some cases, infamous shows. We learn more about how these shows came to be and were originally made, if they're effective pilot episodes and making us want to watch more, and if we think they can be made today. Go back and stream our old episodes from wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok to see our smiling faces. And if it is your first time flying with us, then welcome aboard.
And before we dive too deep into The Summer I Turned Pretty, a quick word from our sponsor. Well, Max, we're going to Cape Cod, and let's start off with a quick synopsis. A love triangle between one girl and two brothers. A story about first love, first heartbreak, and the magic of that one perfect summer. Well, I think that we saw at least a part of that, maybe not a whole summer in the pilot episode, but Max, can you tell us a little bit about Cousins Beach and The Summer I Turned Pretty?
Today we are talking about the pilot episode of The Summer I Turned Pretty, titled Summer House, not to be confused with the Bravo reality show of the same name, which originally aired on June 17th, 2022 on Prime Video, and the show's creator Jenny Han a bit more. An author and screenwriter originally from Richmond, Virginia, Han published her first novel, Shug, back in 2006 while working on her MFA at the New School. In 2009, she published her next book, The Summer I Turned Pretty, which became a New York Times bestseller alongside its two sequels released between 2009 and 2011. In 2014, she published another YA bestseller, To All the Boys I've Loved Before. Han's first foray to screen would come as executive producer on the Netflix adaptation of To All the Boys, released in 2018. In interviews, Han has said there was a lot of interest in adapting The Summer I Turned Pretty, but she was resistant to selling the rights because she wanted to be able to adapt it herself despite her lack of screenwriting experience. In February of 2021, Amazon picked up the series with an 8-episode order and allowed Han to not only write and produce, but to serve as the series showrunner. She worked to update the story, making it more contemporary from its debut 13 years ago, and faced a challenge that would confound many first-time showrunners, having to run her first room and casting sessions entirely over Zoom. While Cousins Beach may be in New England, principal photography took place in Wilmington, North Carolina. Today's pilot is directed by Jesse Peretz, a director known for his extensive music video work, along with 18 episodes of Girls and the feature films The Ex and Our Idiot Brother. He is also a former member of the rock band The Lemonheads.
Awesome. Well, Max, let's dive into the show. And I want to start off with something that we haven't had in a second, which is a voiceover. A voiceover with a montage of a bunch of different summer experiences, as well as the trope that I think we grew up being very used to in the 90s, which is the girl with the glasses, maybe before they have matured, suddenly they are the most beautiful thing in the world because they no longer have glasses and they have gone through puberty. What do you think of this opening as a 30-plus-year-old man?
I have to start here, then I'll work my way back. There is a moment in this prologue montage where it goes from being the child actor playing Belly into Lola Tongue just playing it slightly younger, and the glasses and wig combo that they put on her before she like has her glow up moment are devastating. I don't know if it's either wigged or they just fried her hair for a couple of shots, but they absolutely wreck her hair for this. And it's so funny whenever the grown-up actor has to play the slightly younger version. And this isn't even that big of a difference. We're talking like 2 years here, and they make it seem like a lifetime. To your actual point, I think this prologue is very sweet. I like that we get to see the coming of age. We get to experience life through the eyes of this protagonist and an understanding of what this place means to her, what these relationships mean to her. And I think there's some very interesting blink and you'll miss it moments in here too that are effective for getting us caught up without having to get bogged down in the details, such as a character at one point having a headscarf wrapping on and understanding what that could be implying. The dads at a certain point in the montage no longer being in the montage, although shout out to the all too brief cameo from Tom Everett Scott of That Thing You Do fame. And I think as far as welcoming us to this world, it does an effective job of catching us up and plopping us down in why is today different from the jump.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that this is a very neat opening, if that makes sense. It's very tidy and the giving us all of the information that we need. I can see literally the idea of, hey, maybe we took this voiceover or this narration directly from the book, but we definitely took out some things that you don't need to know, right? Like that is the tricky part about adaptation. Is you have to stay true. You have to stay loyal to the source material, especially if the author of this book is the person who's show running and developing this into a series. But at the same time, there's a nostalgic feel, at least to me, to the opening of this this show. And it reminds me of, like, for me, I used to spend summers in Block Island with a family friends, the McGinnises, and very similarly, hey, it was the moms, it was the children, and then the dads would visit when they could, sort of thing, right? And like this immediately had me in nostalgia feels, and I was like, all right, cool, I'm seated, and let's revisit my childhood for a second.
I had such an insane dad moment though in this opening of I'm watching it, and this montage is set to Mr. Blue Sky by Electric Light Orchestra. And I had this moment where I was perked up. I was like, is that ELO? And I felt like a dad just kind of passing through the living room. It's like, I need to find like a handful of like mixed nuts that I can shake in front of the TV while I stand and pop up listening to ELO. Like, oh yeah, you guys like this? I got a bunch of records in the garage somewhere that we could put on if you like this. You guys like this song? You want to check out more of this band? You like ELO?
Well, Max, I want to talk about why today is different. For us, the audience, coming into this pilot, what is the buy-in of why we should be interested, or why are we joining the story today? And is it as shallow as, well, Isabella's pretty now, and her summer wish is she wants to hook up with Conrad or potentially date this guy that she's had a crush on forever in the most 15-year-old like sort of sentence and statement we ever get?
Why is today different? Because her glasses are gone now. I mean, the like easier way to put it is that it's the first day of summer.
Sure.
That she's on like the verge of turning 16. It's this moment of it's summer and it's new possibilities. And even though we've established 15 previous summers, this one is going to be different.
Yeah. I mean, so I want to talk about the character that sort of establishes that this summer is different, because it's not Isabella. Isabella is, meek in this instance, very much trying to still be the same old Isabella. It's Isabella's friend, Taylor. Taylor, I want to talk about Taylor for no less than 2 hours, but we're going to talk about her for a minute. In the idea of Taylor is the best wing woman that I have ever met in my life, but also, did you get the vibes that Taylor is absolutely in love with Isabella, and maybe that is the love story that this show is actually about?
I think that's just teenage friendships. I think that's just a ride or die level that you could only have at like 15, 16, 17 years old that unfortunately fades away with time. But yeah, Taylor is down for hyping up Belly. And again, if you're unfamiliar, her name is Isabella. Everyone calls her Belly. When I used to see people talk about this show on social media, I was so confused that people were calling her Belly. I thought it was like the movie from back in the day.
Can we talk about that as a nickname, though, for just like 1 second? Max, I want you to put yourself in Isabella's shoes, because there are a lot of nickname opportunities that provide itself with the name Isabella. Where on the list is Belly? Is it a bottom tier nickname for someone? Would you be like, hey, after the age of, I don't know, 10, shut the fuck up, stop calling me that, please?
I mean, it's a little Topher Grace being Christopher and going by Topher because he wants to be different. and to me, it almost feels a little like anti the character, someone who is such a straight arrow having this abbreviated version of her name, this nickname that does make her stand out so much. But it's really fun to keep referring to her as Belly. It's adding a lot of value to this podcast for me.
It is interesting, though, because I think that the Belly, the phrasing of that, calling her Belly, it sets this dynamic that we see continued in this episode of the family, both of Belly, her mom, her brother Steven, and then the difference between that family and the Fisher family, also referring to her as Belly, and then everyone else sort of being introduced to this new version of Isabella that she has not asked for, but seemingly she's being noticed, based off of like our first introduction with the guy whose name is Punch, who works at the boat or the surf shop on the beach, which is, talk about a name. Boy, did I write that down and said, this is not the last we're seeing of Punch in this pilot.
Belly and Punch. I still want to believe that Belly and her brother like sat down with their parents one day and it's like, why is my name Steven? Oh, well, that was your uncle's name, and he was really close to the family, and he meant a lot, and he passed, so we named you after him. And it's like, well, why am I named Belly? It's like, well, we love that movie with Nas and DMX from 1998.
But I let's talk a little bit about the Fisher family, right? This is the family that owns this house that Isabella's mom, Belly's mom, has been very good friends with forever. This beautiful friendship, it appears, at least on face value based off of this pilot. But there's some interesting dynamics at play, right? Not only Belly's crush on Conrad, but Conrad has a brother, Jeremiah, who seems to be the most golden retriever coded human being I've ever seen in my lifetime. And then there's also some financial disparity between the two of them. And I'm curious, driving into this beautiful house that is on the Cape, what are the feelings that you're feeling when you actually see the interaction between these two families?
I mean, I think when you look at the mobs and you look at Susanna and Laurel, you get this different type of dynamic with Susanna being like, you don't need to bring anything. Like, we have people who take care of the home, and Laurel having this sense of obligation of like, no, we're going to bring a lot of food. We are going to do our part. We are guests in your home, but like, you're not taking care of us. The sense of wanting to maybe either create a boundary or feeling some sort of insecurity that she wants to make sure that they're doing their part. And Susanna feels like every upper middle to upper class New England white lady, where it's like she definitely like votes Democrat the entire down ballot, but like also still believes in debutante balls and kind of like putting on airs in a certain type of class, but also like smokes a little reefer. Like, it's a very weird sort of like moderate liberal behavior that she has.
Yeah, first of all, was I distracted by the fact that Susanna was played by Rachel Blanchard, who was also in the Clueless TV show that I grew up with? Yes, I was very distracted for at least the first 15 minutes of this pilot. But there is something that it is a comforting but aloof character, if that makes sense, of the idea and what a difference in dynamic, right? Because we have Jackie Chung playing Laurel, who's Belly and Steven's mom, and you can tell that she is so hyper aware of everything, the disparities, the power dynamics at play, even though they've been guests at Cousins Beach for 15 plus years, or we go on to learn 18 years in this instance because we have Conrad there. And it's something that we just watched the pilot, but we can tell the power dynamic is already there and at play.
Well, and we drop this a little bit later on in the pilot where they say that Belly and Steven's parents have been divorced for a year and a half now. And so while this wouldn't be the first time that they've gone here for the summer post-divorce or post-separation, it's the first time where it's very clearly separated. And perhaps that plays a role into why Laurel is behaving the way she is heading into this summer, that there's some sort of feeling deep down about the divorce, the family dynamic, what it means to be coming back to this place as now a single divorced woman after this being a family vacation home for so long, and like what that does to someone.
Well, there's more than just Susanna. There's more than just Laurel. Let's talk about the boys in this pilot. And we can start off with Steven, which very much Steven is the older brother. It is if you had to paint by numbers the older brother in a young adult novel, it is Steven every single step of the way. But let's talk a little bit more about Conrad and Jeremiah. And I want to save Conrad because it seems like the most complex of the characters we have. But what are your takes on Jeremiah and the relationship maybe that he's showing with Belly and the relationship he shows with everyone?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Just golden retriever man in action. Oblivious to the world around him, just wants to bro out this summer with his boy Steven. They're working at the country club. He's lifeguarded. Steven's hitting up the snack bar. It's going to be dope as hell this summer. This is such a quintessential teen experience captured on film. I actually found it really endearing. I love that before anything else, he has to toss Steven's little sister into the pool. There has to be this hazing ritual immediately. I think that we see sides of him in this episode that show more complexity to him, that he has to look out for his brother, he has to look out for his friends. There is a certain degree of responsibility that he carries for those around him, but he is also dumb, like charmingly dumb. And he's a great introduction to the world of Cousins Beach.
Yeah, I think that Jeremiah is such a nice, refreshing as a character. If we're thinking about a character as a tool or a device within this show and within the book, I can very much see how the plan was, well, we have Jeremiah and he can break the tension and he can be the humor in a scene that might be a little bit too dark or it might bring you down, and he can really uplift spirits. And I could very much see how for a lot of people, not that we're taking sides just yet, he could be a fan favorite or someone that people would say, wow, why doesn't Belly have a crush on Jeremiah? And it might be, just speaking from experience, because he's a little bit too friendly, and sometimes you can be painted in that view and that view only. But I want to talk about Conrad with you, Max, because from the beginning of this pilot, we are given the mission and we are given the brief that Conrad is endgame in the eyes of Belly. He is the one that she has had a crush on forever, and she wants to end up with. That is her summer wish. And I want you to tell me, point blank, first impression of Conrad is...
This guy?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, obviously we get the black cat golden retriever dynamic between the brothers, and I do think that Conrad is an interesting character, that he is this brooding teenage boy who is sitting by the pool smoking J's. A lot of people are hitting reefer in this pilot. And what I think is interesting is that we set up a conflict with this character of he is given up playing football. They talk about him getting a scholarship to go play football. Like, that man will get snapped in half if he gets hit by a defensive back.
I believe in this pilot we see this man with his shirt off, and I'm going to be as kind as possible with saying that, Max, I think you could beat the shit out of Conrad if you...
Look, I know it's like New England high school football. These guys aren't necessarily going to Georgia or Texas, but that is a lanky man to be out on the field.
He might be on the MIT has a lightweight football team, and I think that Conrad is the star wide receiver on that lightweight football team.
All this to say, he's dealing with this. He's dealing with this crisis, this conflict, this internal struggle of... I have abandoned the thing that gave my life all meaning, and now I am adrift. And what I think this show is super effective at is it sets character wants that feel super relatable. With Conrad feeling aloof and lost, not having this thing that defines him anymore, and perhaps a relationship with his dad that impacted why this thing defined him against his will, perhaps. Belly wanting to be seen as an adult and coming of age, and what does 16 mean? That's a concept that we've explored in popular culture for decades and decades now. And these are very easy, relatable things to grasp. And I think it's the strength of Jenny Han's storytelling and her writing and this show in general is that the whys and the wants and these given circumstances, you could sit and see them and go, I understand that.
So I want to give one note about Conrad, at least in this pilot, is I want to speak about Conrad almost like he's Paul Bunyan, right? Because we are given the idea that Conrad is this larger than life, amazing human being. We see Belly literally like, and her... I've learned so much about this character in one scene where she's singing her heart out in the car, right? As loud as she can be, not giving a shit about if she is hitting those notes appropriately or not. And then you see this wet towel of a human being, and you're just like, wait, this is the guy? This is it? Like, I need some evidence of, is he a good person? Is he like, where did this crush come from? And yes, I understand we have to watch the show to learn why, right? There's got to be some supporting evidence for this. Otherwise, Belly, girl, love yourself a little bit more, just like a second more, like even just a minuscule amount more.
Well, there's two possibilities I want to address. The first one is this has always been the way Conrad is, and she sees it as her responsibility and life's mission to take him out of his shell. The second one is that something has changed, is affecting Conrad.
Sure.
And this is not the Conrad that she has known over the years, and over the course of this season and beyond, we are going to get to the bottom of what has afflicted him, why it is doing so, and whether or not Belly could get him back to the version that she had a crush on.
Yeah, just I want to quote one of my favorite commercials, which is, Belly, you're not a mechanic. You don't need to fix him. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about some of the surrounding stuff. We mentioned the debutante ball is something that seems to be very important to Susanna about Belly completing or doing in this summer. But there's a couple of other things that happen, Max, and I want to take us over to these sort of supporting scenes or these big conflicts that we see, which is the bonfire that we get, the opening of the season bonfire, and Buddy is there underage drinking and so much pot. And what did you take away from the scene? Did you like it? Did it give you some memories?
Just an absolute iconic teenage coming of age moment where you know all these people year after year. It's almost the equivalent of camp friends. It's these people that you have these relationships with for a couple of weeks at a time every single year. And I love it. This almost felt like Belly's coming out and debutante debut in a way. She borrows Taylor's freakum dress that was hidden in her suitcase. She sneaks out and she's going to break away from mom and daughter movie night and be her own person. And I really like this moment. I like the reaction to all of the people in her orbit to Belly stepping out and trying to be independent, whether it's Steven, the brother, chastising her for crashing the space, but also for the gas station attendant creeping on a girl that's 15 going on 16. From the way the brothers react to seeing her, there's just this sense of something has shifted, something has disrupted. There's this vibe shift now that is never going to go back to normal because Belly has come to the beach party. What about you?
Yeah, and there's just moments of I'm just thinking in my head, like, cool, what is this show? And like, what are the feelings that I feel when I watch this show? And it is what I call anti-euphoria, if that makes sense. Everything is very sweet in this show. Everything is like, it does not appear there is a bad bone in this show's body, because we have this really cute moment of former IU football coach Cam Cameron appearing in this pilot as this guy that just is like just as much of a dork as Belly, with this just very innocent crush that we get to see and interaction between these two kids that might be summer love. And that to me was great, but also the cops breaking this up, A+. I wanted that from the beginning because I do want there to be some form of, hey, we're not superheroes, or hey, we're not living in a place where no one gets arrested or gets in trouble. There are going to be some consequences this summer. It
felt very real. There are consequences for actions. Fights break out over small, petty details. There's a moment in this scene where Belly is talking to Conrad and a little crestfallen that he's chatting up a girl on a blanket. And I love the pure innocence in questioning his choice in women because she's wearing a Red Sox hat and saying you hate the Red Sox. It's something that to me felt so simple, so pure and innocent, of just like, that's not you, but I can't say why it's not you. I can't say it's because it should be me sitting on that blanket with you. So all I can muster out is she's wearing a Red Sox hat. You hate the Red Sox. It's such like a blissful, simple moment that can break your heart, but also come across as funny.
Yeah, I mean, this pilot is all about young love. And one thing, before we talk about the end of this pilot, Max, I do want to make sure that we address this with our full chest. You want to talk about the music on this show and the soundtrack on this show a little bit?
Look, Amazon, much like the going out dress, freaked it with this soundtrack. There is an insane A&R budget. I mean, I don't know how much they paid for Electric Light Orchestra, but beyond that,
that was the number one thing. They had to get them.
Yeah, listen, we need to wrap this shoot quick because we spent a lot of money getting Jeff Lynne's ELO for this. We have 2 Taylor Swift needle drops in this, 2 cuts from Lover, because they said we're going to revitalize that album from a few years ago single-handedly. We are going to make Cruel Summer hit #1 on Billboard 2 years later. We've got Cardi B. We've got Bleachers. We've got Olivia Rodrigo. We also have Kim Petras in there, which feels a little bit like an afterthought compared to everyone else I just named. But it is just hit after hit after hit. And yes, it is a embarrassment of riches for a soundtrack.
Well, Max, I want to talk about the end of this pilot because, as we said, there are consequences to drinking. There are hangovers, especially it appears by Conrad as he's laying out on the beach. But what do you think of these final beats that we get in this pilot to send us off?
You know what I loved the most is that despite this being a YA series on a streamer that dropped its entire first season in a day, it felt like a concluded episode.
Yeah.
We end up sitting on the beach at dawn. We do a callback to Belly chastising Conrad for wanting to smoke, but this time it's her trying to join him. We kind of circle back on that. And then she runs off into the distance to meet up with this boy. And obviously, this is going to be a linear through line. This is going to be a story that continues and is serialized, but it felt so contained and it felt so wrapped up in this moment that we were like closing this chapter. And I think that Jenny Han did such a nice job with the way this pilot is structured and making it feel like a conclusion and not being forced into a cliffhanger that gets you to click on episode 2.
Yeah, this show did I'm going to say a really good job, at least in the pilot, of not feeling like a movie that was cut up, if that makes sense, right? We talk about that all the time, of like 8-episode movies. Congrats, you made one, and it probably is on Netflix. But this show feels like it is purposeful, and like Jenny Han did such a good job. Like, well done, because To All the Boys I Loved Before, right, went straight to the streamer, and I have to think that experience might have colored or influenced how she approached this show and making this and having it and holding it so close, because it was a really nice ending, and it did feel like, hey, like not so much a cliffhanger because we see what happens, but this is what summer is going to be, and this is what we're going to be experiencing through the eyes of our protagonists. But Max, that's our pilot, and I want to hear from you. Were there any things that you loved about the show that maybe you want to speak about in a little bit more depth and give a little more shine?
Laurel and Susanna subplots, I think, are really interesting. A lot of times in these types of shows, parents can be afterthoughts, or they can be a little one note and just trying to be exposition devices or move along a plot line. But Laurel's story is very real, and all the elements of it, from being this author who is struggling to keep up in the social media landscape and feels like she's underappreciated and trying to learn how to use Instagram. It's done in a way that's not super like adults using social media, haha. It felt very real, to her getting back out of the dating scene, this relationship and this friendship with Susanna, and understanding that there's a depth to what their backstory is that we haven't explored yet. I love the two of them smoking weed together on the couch when they think everyone's asleep or out for the night. It's just, there's a developed, lived-in friendship and actual stories for them to explore as well. And yeah, they didn't feel like they were just there to be set pieces or to drop exposition. They felt like real characters.
Yeah, and for myself, the pacing on this pilot was extraordinary. And I know that sounds weird. It was a 45-minute pilot, probably with ads. If you are one of those people who doesn't pay for that on Prime, I'm one of them, so not derogatory. It's just, it feels really like I'm not sitting there staring and being like, holy shit, how much more time do I have? Instead, I'm like, oh, what a good scene. That was just the right amount of time. We didn't try to stretch it out at all. Instead, it feels really like a day in the life. And that's something to, reward and congratulate on, because we are in the age where it feels like, hey, I have an idea, let's stretch it out, because we don't actually have a full episode of TV here. We need to stretch this scene. We need to make this scene. We need to add a montage here to make this a real thing. Additionally, each of these characters in this pilot, I feel really good about. Like, and I know that sounds strange, but it is, I gained a perspective, and I feel like these characters are lived in, rather than, oh, I have to watch all 8 episodes to understand who this person really is. No, like, Jeremiah is that golden retriever. Steven is the older brother. Like, and even though these auditions were done via Zoom, I couldn't tell because I thought the chemistry was amazing here.
Yeah, we've done so many shows of this variety, these like teen YA dramas where it feels like they fall into one of two traps. They're either laying on so much plot and so much exposition that we're just like trying to like force plot through instead of building relationships, or we have to be so heavy-handed to beat you over the head with details. And this feels like it actually focused on relationship building.
Yeah.
And again, like the character wants felt real. The relationships felt lived in. There's explanation without being heavy-handed that leaves you to want to explore more. It doesn't need to bluntly state everything for you. This feels like it strikes a nice balance within the genre.
Yeah. Let's talk about wait a minute moments, things that cause you pause. I'll start with a fake one first. No Southie accents. Where are they? I want this show just with Southie accents of the people who are making their way to Cape Cod just for like the weekend, and I would lose my mind. If you are interested, I'm going to start a Kickstarter. I'm going to get in talks with Jenny Han. We're going to make that a reality just for one episode, and it's going to change the entire dynamic of this fucking show. But my second one is there are two lines that were said in this pilot that I nearly lost my shit. And one was when Susanna said that Belly was in bloom. Max, I almost started the podcast saying, like, Max, guess what? We're in bloom. Because Jesus Christ.
I hated that line.
I literally, like, I was like, oh, she's a mom, because that's not something a mom would fucking say who, like, as you made mention, very much that is a Susanna coded line. And then the second one was when Belly's own mom called her a feral little alley cat. I was just like, do you hate your daughter? Do you absolutely despise her? Because one, you let the Belly nickname go, but two, you're calling your daughter a feral alley cat? What the fuck is wrong with you?
I would spontaneously combust if someone said either of those things about me.
Yeah, no, imagine if they said either of those things about anyone that you care about. I'd be like, all right, cool, we're fighting. Like, that's how this is going to go now. But I'm curious, Max, what about you?
Co-executive producer, Speed Weed. The best name I have ever seen in the credits of a show, Speed Weed. And if you look closely, Speed Weed makes cameos in scenes with both Conrad and the moms.
Well, we have to watch more, I guess. Well, Max, we do have one more question, and it's an in-flight question from Aaron in New York City. And Aaron asked, Cam Cameron has an internship on a whale boat for the summer or something like that. Would you ever do that, or is there a job you'd take to spend a summer in a beach town? So, Max, put yourself in the shoes of our cast. Maybe you're in that range of high school, need a job for the summer. What are you doing in Cousins Beach?
Oh, man, I love this question. So I'm thinking about a specific place in mind that I used to go to a lot as a kid in Cape Cod that was called Arnold's. And Arnold's was a seafood restaurant / mini golf course.
Hell yeah.
And so it was like you would put your name in for a table, and you could go play putt-putt, then you could go back there. And I just want to like spend a summer wearing shorts while working in a clam shack and maybe tending to the putt-putt, maybe slinging some soft serve in baseball helmets if they have it. It just feels like a really chill environment. The crew is probably young. We're having a good time. Maybe I get to meet Arnold. Maybe not. But at the very least, I'm getting paid in clam baskets and rounds of putt-putt, and I'm filling up my entire collection of soft serve helmets for all major league teams.
Yeah, there's something about working at a beach town like restaurant or like clam shack that is just, there's an aura there that is there. But like, I'll go a little bit different, just cause. And my choice would probably be working on like one of those like fishing boats that, you know, the rich people are hiring out to go like deep sea fishing, or like even just around the bay in that sense, because every single time I have done that, of like I've gone on a boat that someone's rented, I'm just like, oh, everyone here, the best vibe. Like, yeah, we're giving the kid who's like 16 a beer to drink while they're like waiting for a line to get hooked. Like, absolutely. And it's so much fun, like spending time on the sea and just like enjoying yourself. It's a long day. You're probably getting skin cancer in some shape or form, but you're having a hell of a time in a lot of
And there's
stories.
so much stuff on the board here. I mean, you could work at a drive-in movie theater, just catching blockbusters all summer. If you're out in the Cape, there's Cape Cod League Baseball. You could get a job at the stadium and just watch college baseball players all summer, just like hang out with them. I mean, there's infinite possibilities. Everyone has a sweet shop. You could be hucking fudge all summer and having a great time. I mean, really, it's endless possibilities.
I want to hear in the comments below if you have a job that maybe you did or you'd want to do at a beach town. Let us know. We'd love to hear them. Well, Max, let's talk a little bit about the history of this show. This show has 3 seasons and 26 episodes. And don't worry, there is a movie that is coming out that will be a continuation of the final episode. As Max mentioned, this show was filmed entirely in North Carolina. And as far as the music goes, I think we also need to give a little bit of a shout out to Zachary Dawes, who was part of making the soundtrack for the show, the background music for the show. And then obviously Taylor Swift and this show had a very loving relationship. Jenny Han has even mentioned that Taylor is basically an unnamed character throughout this show. That is how important her contributions to the show were. And she even used the show to debut new music that was coming out. That is how strong that relationship was.
I mean, I don't think it's quite as important as what Jeff Lynne of Electric Light Orchestra contributed, but I mean, who's to say? Tomato.
You want to hear something insane?
Yes.
We've talked about the idea of like, if your song was on certain shows, you saw your sales just like go bananas. It very much was just a thing. Mm-hmm. There are some songs that were on this show that saw a 6,000% increase in sales after being on a single episode of this show, which is just like, cool. Who do I have to pay so that I can get paid so that my song can go on this show?
TikTok viral and Billboard #1 hit, Mr. Blue Sky.
Let's talk about viewership for the show really quickly. The second season of this show was one of the most viewed series amongst women between 18 and 34. I'm curious, what do you think was the most viewed series in that same year that the second season came out?
Euphoria?
Rings of Power on Amazon Prime was the #1, which I found also surprising. But as far as shows that drive acquisition of net new customers or net new viewers, the show is #3 on Amazon Prime, which I found super interesting, and it's #1 amongst that demo. The final season of this show drew 25 million viewers in the first 7 days for its premiere, 70 million in the first 70 days, which is a 65% increase over season 2. And let's briefly talk about awards. This show has 3 nominations and 1 win. Surprisingly, no Teen Choice Awards. I was genuinely shocked that there was not even a nomination for a Teen Choice Award for the show.
We're getting too close to present day that things doesn't have the cachet it used to. Like, this should be cleaning up.
There should just be
Teen Choice Awards.
There should be customized surfboards everywhere around Wilmington, North Carolina. But the show did win most binge-worthy series in 2024 from the People's Choice Awards. Max, that is our episode. And I have 2 questions for you. The first is, based off of the pilot and the pilot alone, are you spending some more time at Cousins Beach? Are you going to spend some more time watching The Summer I Turned Pretty? Maybe even this summer. And then the second question that I have for you is not, would you prefer Jeremiah over Conrad or Conrad over Jeremiah? I'm going to let you keep that secret to yourself. But instead, young adult novels being turned into TV shows versus movies, because it seems like while movies are the quick buck, TV shows might take a little bit more love and a little bit more attention. So do you want to see more of those?
So to your first question, I've kind of avoided this show since it came out in 22, just writing it off as something that was absolutely not for me in any way, shape, or form. And after 4 years of hearing my wife just utter Connie baby around the house at random intervals, Christopher Bridie's so good in the 5th and final season of Hacks as well. I just have to give a shout out. That's like such a fun post this show role for him. But I digress. This is an effective pilot. And I am not the target demographic for it by any stretch of the imagination, shocker, but it accomplishes all of the goals that a pilot of this type should. It is centered on relationships. It is well paced. It feels like a fully concluded episode that leaves you on this hopeful note of what's to come. I mean, its protagonist literally runs up the hill into daybreak behind her to seize the day and this summer that is going to be different because she has turned pretty. And I just think that it works. And I think in a endless sea of YA streamer shows that do not hit these notes, this is very successful at accomplishing its goal and making you want to watch more.
Yeah, for myself. Sometimes you hear about shows and you think, well, this couldn't possibly be for me. And when I heard the first time about I remember when this show's trailer came out and I watched it and I said, cool, I'll be missing that because there's not a shot in hell that show is for me. And then I sat down and we decided to do this. And I was like, well, maybe it's going to be like one of those ABC family shows where we just have a fucking great time making fun of the show because it's so silly. And like, why would we ever watch this? And there's no way we'd ever watch more. And about 15 minutes in, I said, oh, fuck, I'm going to watch every single episode of this dumb show. Because here's the thing, it's not dumb. It is such a well-written, beautifully produced show. And like, even if it's just for the soundtrack, I am fully bought in on what this is. And I'll tell you, I am going to watch episode 4 tonight. And I can't wait because it is. And Max, I have a surprise for you. I scheduled a text that I sent to your phone. That is a text that is from my wife. Would you do me the honor of reading what I texted you? Max is looking at his phone. Max, the photo that I texted you was not me absent-mindedly looking forward to the summer I turned pretty tonight. And I just replied, LOL. Because here's the thing. I did not expect this show to be the show of my summer. But it appears it's going to be. And then as far as my second question that I asked Max, yeah.
And I'm going to get back to that because I forgot it. We're going to circle back to me after you go.
Yeah. As far as young adult novels being turned into movies, it's a quick buck, right? Like, especially if you want to see something be made, it is a lot easier to say, hey, let's have that movie. We might have to condense some things and then we can come back to it if people love it enough. Like that's what we're seeing with the Hunger Games happen right now. And that's what we're seeing with a lot of the young adult movies that we saw in the early 10s. But if you love something so much, respect it a little bit and allow for it to bloom into, I can't believe I used that word, something a little bit more beautiful and turn into something so pretty. Because
I didn't like it when I heard it in the pilot. I didn't like it when I heard it now.
So Max, answer my question. Do you want to see more young adult TV shows like this from novels?
Okay. So my concern right now is that we're seeing this trend, and some of these are a little bit older. They're getting a little bit more into like romance genre, but they're these book series where there's 3, 4, 5 novels in it. And they all talk about the same characters, but different volumes center on different characters. Mm-hmm. And to me, we're going to see how these play out. I'm thinking really about like Heated Rivalry and On Campus and these shows that are these universes where each volume has a different focal point. And if you lose the interest in a certain pairing. Like, are they all going to work? Like, is each installation going to work as just TV structure, or is it going to start to feel a little too glorified mini-series-y in the vein of TV shows? Like, are we just repackaging like these volumes of like Ryan Murphy type stuff and trying to pass it off as TV? But if you could find a way to take them, just tell the story in one fell swoop, it could be really effective. I'm curious to see how this trend in the current show landscape is going to play out in the next few years as we see more volumes, more installations, more seasons of these series.
Absolutely. Well, Max, that is our episode. But before we go, I want to make sure that folks can find you wherever you want to be found. So, Max, where can folks find you?
You can find me on a whaling boat at dawn and on all things social media at Maxwell Sang.
And you can find me hopefully turning pretty this summer. I've been waiting 35 years for it. But if you're looking for me on social media, you can find me at Run Geoff Run. If you're looking for the TV Pilot's License, you can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts, as well as see our smiling faces on YouTube and find us on most social media platforms. If you have a question about the show or for a next episode, you can shoot us an email at tvpilotslicense@gmail.com or go on tvpilotslicense.com to send us in your in-flight questions. Also, shoot us a text message. Leave us a voicemail with suggestions for what you want to hear us talk about, or maybe if you have an in-flight question as well. Make sure to watch out for some of the sneak previews of the stuff that we have coming up, but with the plane landed and the seatbelt sign off, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you again soon. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies and your fingers on the dial.
Connie, baby.